But not only are we hearers, we must be doers of the word. We must live like he lives in our hearts. Jesus said, by their fruit, you shall know. How are you living? Are you living as though the Son of God lives in you? Because you see, you cannot live the Christian life by yourself. It is Christ living in you and through you that lives this new, victorious, resurrected life. I no longer live. Christ liveth in me. And the life I now live, I live by faith. It's a matter of faith.
To say that I thought we had the last rally of the campaign, but here we go again. As all of you in this room know, and as all of you...
We'll be famous. We'll make a fortune. We'll call it instant cyanide. Instant cyanide, you lame brain. Look at all the sky. Instant cyanide everywhere. Instant cyanide? They sort of the two. Cyanide thinks of everything. Try instant cyanide. Another easy new way to brighten your day.
And the shape of your lips. Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad does he teach hate, you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you.
Another inspiration for freedom feared by whites lay much closer to home, the Bible, where slave traders are labeled ungodly and sinful. Many slaves in the South have begun to accept Christianity and adapt it to their needs. Worried that the unfiltered Word of God will encourage slaves to escape, slave owners themselves interpret the Bible for their slaves, preaching that slavery is a part of God's design.
Running away was defined as a sin. Disobedience to one's master was defined as a sin. Religion became part of that whole apparatus of control that joins the slave patrols, the militia, the county court, all others, agencies of control in maintaining order within the slave community.
In the summer of 1831, just 2 years after Walker's appeal, whites had good reason to fear religion. In Southampton County, Virginia, Nat Turner, an enslaved preacher, had his own interpretation of the Bible. He believes that God has chosen him to avenge the sins of slavery. As Turner makes his rounds preaching in the field, he quietly enlists other slaves to his cause. For a month, the men meet secretly, conspiring on the plans of their uprising. In the early morning hours of August 21st, 1831, Turner and his men launched one of the largest slave rebellions in American history. The rebels moved from home to home, killing every white person they meet. As they advanced towards the nearby town of Jerusalem, more recruits joined them. The local slave patrols had failed to uncover Turner's plot. So the militia is called out to track down and kill the rebels. For 36 hours, the rebellion rages on. Church bells ring out in distress.
The reaction of the white community to this is extreme. The paranoia shoots off the scale. 50 dead today, how many dead tomorrow?
For white Virginians and white slaveholders across the South, it was a shock, a reminder that they could lose their lives in a minute, that the entire system could explode.
Rumors spread among whites that the whole southern slave population has finally exploded in revolt, and that the British are invading to liberate the slaves. As panic swells, the United States government provides important military support. And that support is ensured by slaveholder power. In 1830, slave states controlled 41% of Congress, and then President Andrew Jackson himself owns over 100 slaves. Portland Road sends 3 artillery companies. The USS Warren and Natchez had naval units.
Don't forget that slavery is protected not only by the slaveholder, not only by the local militia or the state militia, but also by the full force of the military might of the United States of America. Except for that, slavery would not have been possible in the South.
As the hunt for Nat Turner and his men continues, 800 U.S. troops join 2,000 local militiamen. Within a week, the rebellion is squashed. More than 50 rebels are captured. Nearly 60 white men, women, and children have been killed. But Nat Turner is still at large, and the white population remains terrified. Patrols in Virginia and North Carolina go on their own vengeful rampage.
Every available white man who is of the appropriate age and is able is pressed into service to make sure that patrol groups are functioning and active everywhere. They visit the homes of free blacks, they visit the homes of slaves, but they'll be active from sundown to sun up to make sure that slaves are utterly under control.
They search for books and letters, weapons and gunpowder, any sign of evidence that African Americans support and will continue the rebellion. Harriet Jacobs, a slave who later runs away herself, writes that men poured into her town of Evanston, North Carolina, to join in an orgy of violence.
Everywhere men, women, and children were whipped to the blood to the hunt at their feet. Some received 500 lashes, others were tied hands and feet and tortured with a pistol powder.
The laws that normally govern slave patrols give way to vigilantism. Patrols formerly included wealthy slaveholders, but they are now mostly composed of poor whites, with little concern for slave owners' property. They roam the
Militia group that is going through the southern portion of Southampton County, which is where the rebellion takes place, and they see this free black man out working in the fields. And they say to him, "Is this Southampton County?" And he says, "Yes." They kill him.
The violence doesn't fully subside until Nat Turner is captured 2 months later, on October 31st, not by a patrol or slave catcher, but by a farmer, by accident. Turner is tried, hanged, and skinned. In all, the state executes 55 black people for conspiring with Turner. The patrols murder another 200. Many have nothing to do with the rebellion. Every stop has been pulled out to quash the uprising, all the way up to the United States military.